Hello, welcome to my studio. Today I want to do three things. I want to talk about ugly surprises, productive clumsiness, and talk about using acrylic paint in my sketchbook. So I started chatting to you about that last week, and I just wanted to show you how I've progressed one of the sketchbooks that I shared with you. Now, those two phrases of ugly surprises and productive clumsiness are not mine. I have borrowed them from the brilliant American abstract expressionist Helen Frankenthaler. So I was looking on the website which is dedicated to her foundation's website, and I was reading an article about her from the Telegraph back in September 2021, and they just had a little snippet in there, a quote from what she had said about art making, and it really resonated with me this week. It was just what I wanted to hear, so I thought I'd share it with you in case it's helpful and in case it's what you need to hear as well. So this is me quoting from the article. During her 60-year career, Frankenthaler, who died in 2011, never lost her appetite for risk. She sought out and delighted in the productive clumsiness, as she called it, that is inherent in learning anything new, admitting that she would rather risk an ugly surprise than rely on things I know I can do. End of quote. And I just thought that was brilliant. Her talking about embracing the unknown, being prepared to make a mess, being prepared to make a mistake, being prepared to make something ugly, to discover something new. And actually sometimes it's not what you make, but it's what you learn through the process of making. I thought was a really wonderful reminder to me in my own art making at the moment. And her talk of productive clumsiness made me want to go and find out a little bit more about what she has said about that term. And I found a great quote from her, which I wanted to share with you. So this is me quoting from her. Whatever the medium, there is the difficulty, the challenge, and the fascination, and often the productive clumsiness of learning a new method. The wonderful puzzles and problems of translating with new materials. So I think I mentioned I have been wanting to be bolder with paint and wanting to use more acrylic paint in my sketchbooks. So a little kind of backstory on this. I used to use acrylic paint all the time and feel very comfortable with it as a medium. But about 18 months ago, we had this big flood in our house and we had to move out for 6 months, yada, yada, yada. And I couldn't paint how I used to paint because we were living in hotels and Airbnbs. So I stopped using acrylic paint, and I kind of realised 18 months on from that I haven't really gone back to it full beam. So I'm wanting to, but I'm feeling a bit resistant, a little bit kind of clumsy, a bit hesitant. And I think that's entirely normal. And actually what Helen Frankenthaler is saying is that that's just part of the process. That is just part of using a new material or coming back to something you haven't done for a while. It's just an inherent part of the art making, and then we just have to embrace it and not worry about it. So this is the sketchbook I've been working in recently, which I showed you the beginnings of last week. So basically how I start this kind of sketchbook, when using acrylic paint, I really enjoy building up layer after layer after layer of paint. And so I will start with a page a bit like that. I will just get some paint on my palette and slop it about and enjoy using the paint, enjoy making marks. And then I will add some more layers, and I'll keep building up the layers until there's a really complex surface. Now at this point, I always have a confidence crisis because it looks like a total mess. It just looks like, I don't know what, a jumble sale. And I think, how on earth am I going to try and get something that looks this bad to actually have any
value or beauty at all. But I keep going. And so I go through this kind of productive, clumsy phase. These pages are really ugly, and that's fine. Because what I'm wanting to do is I'm wanting to get back into the swing of using acrylic paint. And so therefore I'm just going to build up layer after layer. I'm going to enjoy blobbing, splodging, scribbling with paint. And then I'm going to give myself the problem solving challenge of how to turn something this ugly into something that I find interesting. And these later pages, so look, all these pages are just a sort of a mess, but some of them I have attempted to resolve. So the pages nearer the front of this sketchbook are looking, I think, better. I'm really pleased with these pages. So this is what the pages then look like when I've added more layers and I've tried to find a composition and I've tried to tighten it and finesse and resolve. And so this is the kind of end result. And this sketchbook has been a really good reminder about just embracing the unknown. Because when you start with something like this on a page, you can have no idea where it's going to go. And I'm not planning anything out. I am just enjoying the paint, having a go, and seeing what kind of combination of marks I enjoy, what kind of combination of colours, what is calling to me. So that's how this sketchbook, this is how some of the pages start. I mean, look, they're ugly. But thinking about ugly surprises, there are quite often little passages or little things in this kind of paint that I find really delightful. So that is the sketchbook I'm working on at the moment. It's a concertina sketchbook from a brand called Sea White of Brighton. I'm using abstract heavy body paint, basically normal acrylic paint, because I've got lots of it, and I'm adding some matte medium to it in an attempt to make it less sticky and less glossy so that the pages don't stick together. And they have a little bit stuck together in places, but I'm just experimenting, so I'm not being in any way precious. I do not want to feel precious about this sketchbook. I want to feel expansive and expressive and that anything goes, and so I don't want to be kind of timid with it. And I think that's one of the wonderful things about a sketchbook. I'm not starting on a massive canvas. I'm already lowering the stakes. I'm giving myself real permission just to explore. So I'm using this kind of paint and some matte medium. And then I'm also using a little bit of tissue paper. So I've got this tissue paper that I used to use on my jelly plate, which I haven't used for a little while. And it's called wet strength tissue paper or carnival paper. It's the paper that they make those lovely big costumes out of at carnivals or lanterns. So it's got quite a lot of strength when wet. And I paint it, I might paint patterns on it or different colours, and I enjoy incorporating that into some of these pages. So this piece here is a painted bit of tissue paper, and I've just stuck that in with matte medium because I enjoy that juxtaposition, that really clean line that you can get from a piece of collage that I might not be able to get with paint because it's got so much texture on this paint. So there we go. Oh, and I've actually put in a few details. Some of these super white bits are actually the acrylic gouache that I've showed you previously. It goes on really in a really lovely opaque way, which is great for building up layers of pattern. So that is my sketchbook at the moment. I've been enjoying the problem solving, the productive clumsiness, and those sometimes ugly surprises and sometimes beautiful surprises.